Assalamualaikum and greetings. My name is Muhammad MINHALKAZIM bin Muhammad SARUSNIZA, and I will explain and show on how to send random numbers using TCP socket programming in Python. First of all, to better understand this, I will explain on how TCP socket programming works. So here are the list of sequence of the socket API calls and the data flow for TCP. On the right side here is the client, and the left hand column represent the server, and it starts on the top left side column where the API calls so that the server can start to set up a listening socket. Okay, so the server listens for connection from client by calling listen method here, and then when a client connects to the server will accept its connection by using this accept method. And then, as we know in TCP connection protocol, the client and the server needs to establish a connection first between to exchange the data between both sides. So here the client calls connect to establish a connection to the server, and it initiates the three-way handshake. And it is very important because it ensures that the both sides of the connection are reachable in the network. In simpler words, the client can reach to the server and the server can reach to the client. Once the connection has been established, the client and the server can start to exchange data by using send method and receive method, where it will exchange between both sides. And lastly, as we know in TCP connection, after we send the data between client and the server, it needs to end transmission or end its connection. So in socket programming, the client and the server close their respective sockets to end the connection. And now I will show you on how to code for the server and the client. And here is the coding for server. So as we can see here, we created a socket instance for the server. As we can see, we use socket.af_inet, which it defines that the address family that this socket can only accept is only for IPv4 addresses. Also, to define so that the socket only accept TCP connection if by assigning this socket to socket sockstream. And then for this line, we get the host name of the current system under which the Python interpreter is executed. And also, to set the port number that the server will listen on is by assigning the value to the port. We use 27679. And this line here is to associate or bind the socket with a specific network interface and port number, which is we use here bind method, as we can see. And then the bind method, the value that pass to the bind method depend on the address family of the socket here. As we can see, we use IPv4 address only, so it expects a 2 tuple, which is host and port. But if another process is already bound to this socket or already used this socket, it will print it will raise an exception, which this exception will catch it and print the error message. After that, the socket will close and exit the program. So this line of coding here put the server socket in a passive mode because it waits for the client to approach the server to make a connection. And as you can see here, we use listen method, and in the listen method we have a value of 1. This 1 value is defined as the maximum number of queued connection, which means that it only accepts 1 host by a time. And in listen method here, we have a backlog parameter, which means it specifies the number of unaccepted connection that the system will allow before refusing a new connection. Okay, and then if the connection is listening to the server, and this message will be printed. And this line of coding here, as we can see, it use accept method API call here, where this method blocks execution and also waits for an incoming connection. And as you can see here, we use while true, which makes infinite loop where the server waits to accept a connection from a client. And if the connection is established, it will print a message says that it got a connection from address. And this line here will generate a list of 10 random numbers between 1 and 100. Then to convert it in the list of numbers into a comma separated string, we use join method here to separate the numbers in commas. And then this line of here coding, we can see we use send API method, which it will send the number of the generated number that has been separated in a comma to the client. And if the number fails to send, it will print an error message. It will close the socket here. And lastly, if the user interrupts the program, for example by pressing Ctrl C, right, it prints a message indicating that the server is terminated by the user. And finally, the server socket is closed. We show you on how to code for client. So here is the coding for client, and mostly it just the same as the server coding. As we can see here, we have we created a socket instance for the server, and we define so that the address family the socket can accept only for IPv4, and we define so that the socket only accept TCP connection only, and we also get the host name of the current system, and also we assign the port number. But the difference here, as we can see, we use the connect method here. Okay, so this line of coding here is to connect to the server at the given host and port. But if the connection fails, it will prompt a message, error message here, and then it will close its socket and exit the program. And this line here, and as we know, we just send a random number from server to the client, so the client have to receive it. So this line right here is receive the data from the server, and as we can see here, we use receive method. And this line right here is to split the received string into a list number using a comma as a separator, and it will print the message that it received from the server and also the list of the number. And lastly, the client will close its socket. And now I will show on the output. So on the left side here, we run the server programming. Oh, my bad. Okay, as we can see here, the server is listening on this port number 27679. And on the right side here, we run for the client programming. Ta-dang! As you can see here, the server is listening on this specific port number, and then the client connects with the server. As it's shown here, the server print a got connection message, got connection from this number of IP address and this port number, and here the client receive the number that randomly generated from the server. Here you can see, and that's all on how to send random generated number in TCP socket programming using Python. Thank you.